Hi all, greetings everyone and thank you for joining us today. It is a pleasure to have you at this hour. As industries strive to meet evolving business demands, digital transformation has become essential. Industries must make it more digitally equipped to meet the ongoing business demands. And we're all moving towards transformation. Well, what does transformation truly mean to you? Is it a shift in business processes, a change in mindset, or something else? Let's explore this with a poll question. Adopting GenAI and new process changes are basically at the forefront among all the other options. Now, as we see, GenAI has emerged as a transformative technology in today's rapidly evolving digital age. Understanding its potential is crucial whether you are a business leader, innovator, or a professional. This webinar will focus on how GenAI is changing numerous areas, including customer service, product development, marketing, and creative projects. From predictive analytics for businesses to highly personalized customer experiences, GenAI is not just creating new efficiencies, but also fostering innovation. It enables a degree of previously unimaginable customization, driving progress in your industry. Let's take a look at here's what we're going to discuss today. How GenAI is transforming industries, enhancing decision-making with AI-driven insights, ethical and practical consideration in GenAI adoption, and future opportunities. Let me introduce you to our industry specialists tenured in their respective domains to share their experience. Our first speaker is Mr. Raghavendra Narayan. He's a principal architect at Google Cloud, specializes in building industry solutions for retail, e-commerce, and CPG enterprises. With over 20 years of experience, he has worked with leading companies like Amazon and Walmart. His expertise lies in personalization, customer experience, omni-channel shopping, and supply chain logistics. Welcome, Raghav. Let me introduce you to our next speaker now, Mr. Aditya Kumar, Associate Director, Data Science and Machine Learning at Tiger Analytics. He's a data science practitioner, driving business growth through value propositions across business domains and units. He focuses on data assessment, evaluation, capability building, implementation, and creating a GTM strategy for evolving data science techniques to solve targeted business problems. Well, I'll now hand over this entire platform to Raghav and Aditya to take over the stage and share their insights on how GenAI is transforming industries. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much. So the way we see GenAI transforming industries is that the definition of transformation is different for different businesses. It depends a lot on the maturity of the business, the current state of the business. And maturity also can be defined from a data perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, from strategy perspective. So maturity in itself the definition of maturity is different for different people. But then as a business, you start with low-hanging fruits. Take a look at your long-term objectives and then decide what to do about GenAI. But what we've seen so far already is that GenAI has been really successful in making sure there's huge adoption by the B2C customers, direct consumers, which means there's a real potential there, potential of transformation. The question now becomes, how can now businesses adopt to those new challenges that comes with it? What are those new challenges and how do they decide what to invest into? What are the use cases they should solve first? Raghav, what are your thoughts on this?
Hi, Aditya. Yeah, agree with you on this, right? And undoubtedly, the generative AI space is exploding with advancements happening on a day-to-day basis. There are a lot of newer and newer updates coming. If I were to classify these advancements into two broader areas, one is the technology advancement, such as there's a lot of things happening actually in enhancing the model capabilities and the efficiency, such as whether bringing in the multimodal models or improved reasoning and contextual understanding, or improving the efficiency and scalability, right? And also addressing ethical and practical challenges is one of the key technology advancement which is happening. And the second is on the industry side, various businesses are trying to build newer experiences actually in their business for the customers, for the operations, and so on. If we were to break this into two distinct frameworks, the way we want to look at this today and focus actually into two distinct frameworks. One is the transformational journey, such as real-time personalization, accessible information, building new experiences, and so on. And the second area is optimize, right, which is revolving around the accelerating review of disparate data sources which are sitting in silos, or speeding data intensive processes, automate manual processes, streamline repetitive tasks, and so on. So what is the differences? The transformational aspect is primarily like if you were to compare to a company's top line, acquiring new customers, building new business models through personalization and so on, and targeted marketing and so on. Whereas the optimize is around improving the bottom line, which is about all about like optimizing the processes and so on, right? Today, what we have seen so far in the generative AI journey is in the first wave of generative AI, maybe because when generative AI broke into the market, like it appeared as if, or at least there was a perception that it's all about the customer experience. We have seen a lot happening on the transformation side, which is about customer acquisition and so on, through personalization, hyper personalization, or targeted marketing and so on. We have seen a lot of these contents being actually built, right? Whereas the optimized aspects has not gained that much traction. While as I'm saying this, today we are seeing that a lot of businesses, specifically in the retail and CPG space, they have started actually focusing on this area as well, because as and when they were building or understanding the generative AI capabilities beyond the wowing the customer aspect, so they have started realizing that there is a lot more, and we are seeing a lot of projects actually getting into the pilot state and so on. And what are some of these things which are happening today and probably will continue to happen over the next year or so? Personalized product creation. Probably there will be a day when a shopper will create their own product. There are some of the e-commerce companies today, like who have launched the websites both in India and actually in the US, where you can actually create your own T-shirt design, go and give a prompt, pick the picture, then put it on your T-shirt and design it, and then you get it delivered, right? Or AI-driven subscription boxes, dynamic pricing and promotions, supply chain optimization, or AI-generated marketing content, and so on. So there's a lot happening here. I think it will go endless, Aditya, like if you want to explore each and every area of that. But yeah, this is something which is evolving rapidly here.
I couldn't agree more, Raghav. So the way I see it is that GenAI is a teenager in this space. There are challenges associated. For example, only about 10% of all the POCs move into production. And the reason is that GenAI, like you said, has created a perception that it is very relatable to an end consumer. And therefore, the use cases that businesses start with is CX, customer experience. But it has implication or applications across an RCPG or any other business aspect. There's customer aspect to it. There are supply chain aspects to it. And then the area where GenAI can particularly enable businesses is optimization. But then that's an area where it's little less explored. And I think the reason around it is that the governance of GenAI is still evolving. The GenAI being a powerful tool requires businesses to create a guardrail around it, and those guardrails are still in the works. That being said, with the current ecosystem, with the current GenAI technology, we have built, even Google and Tiger has built solutions, built guardrails, custom frameworks to make sure that governances are up to speed. So there's a need to consistently benchmark your guardrails as governances and regulations evolve with time, making sure that the inefficiencies are removed and business efficiency increases with optimization. The other challenge that businesses usually face is the cost of an LLM ecosystem. GenAI or large language models is still a very costly enterprise. So the problem around which problem should I solve first? Where do I get the most return on investment? That is an area where businesses do struggle to begin with, take the first step. Yes, they do try POCs, but then movement towards a full-fledged production is only about 10%. So I think that's the key challenge. But we're hopeful. So the future of GenAI brings in multiple new avenues of businesses. So it's not just about the existing systems and processes and improving on that. GenAI can also enable net new systems. There have been work on product information management, on supply chain, where businesses are saying, now let's use generative AI to not just create content or product catalog, but also personalize it for every user. So that will be a new game changer in the space, is what I think, in RCPG space particularly, is the product cataloging, product enrichment, which used to be manual, and there are data challenges in this space. But GenAI can come in the space and evolve the whole journey. And we have done it for a few customers as well. So I think that's the current state of GenAI. How would you articulate the current state of GenAI, Raghav?
So yeah, you already gave a few examples around what is happening, right? So we have seen that too. A lot of customers coming with their use cases around automating of the product catalog and so on. But one thing that caught my attention when you were speaking was that you mentioned that GenAI is a teenage kid. So if I may use this analogy to double click a little bit on what is the current state and what is required from the governance point of view, which you also mentioned that it's very important, right? Think of generative AI as a teenage kid or a super kid who has a lot of capabilities and the brain power to process each and everything that you give to the kid. Give a library, the kid can read the library and answer your questions, right? And now this kid has graduated with all the technical knowledge that the kid has actually gained through the training, has graduated, and now ready to apply the knowledge to the industry. Now, when you hire this kid, of course, the kid has a lot of potential, but two things are very important for you to consider. One is not all of the theoretical knowledge may or may not be applicable for your business. And second, any execution of this knowledge has to be within a defined boundary or the guardrails. So this is where the governance and the context comes into picture. So when you hire a new graduate, every company makes sure that the newly joined employee or the kid understands the company's processes, understands the framework or the governance in which the company is operating, and understands the code of conduct and so on. So that's why we train them. And then the companies continuously monitor each and every employee that they're all actually adhering to these standards, right? And then comes the context. That is where you want to make sure that this kid is actually working and producing the output in the context which is relevant to your business and business needs than something very, very general. So these two things are very important in establishing. So when it comes to the governance, because the AI regulation space is evolving very rapidly with the EU Act and various other governments actually joining this as well, and this is going to change over the next few years, it is very important to ensure the compliance for the retail and CPG companies like any other industry, right? So first, establish clear AI governance framework, defining data usage policies, model validation protocols, and accountability mechanisms, and then implement robust data anonymization framework throughout the AI circle and AI lifecycle, and continuously monitor and audit these AI systems, right? And then finally, invest in AI explainability, because that is where the customer trust is in question. Like if there is no explainability and if you can't actually do the feature attribution and feature right analysis, like you will not gain the particular customer trust. So these are like pretty important in the current state. And then the companies, also, customers also come and ask us like, hey Google, I mean, how do we implement these principles and framework? So that is where we try to emphasize on. We are the AI first company. We have been in this industry for a long time. So hence, basically, like look at like what we are doing in this principle, and then maybe try to take that as a source to go and create your own framework. And our framework revolves around being socially beneficial, or like avoid creating the unfair bias, or be built and tested for safety, security, and so on. And we don't pursue anything that is likely to cause overall harm, or the principal purpose to direct injury, right? And surveillance violating internationally acceptable norms and so on. So there is a specific framework, the responsible AI frameworks that we follow, and we normally suggest the companies to look at some of these best practices and create their own, and go ahead and actually implement them.
So one of the aspects here, Raghav, is that there are a lot of regulations, legislative regulations already in place, and I foresee that many more are coming in future. So one of the challenges that usually businesses have to solve for is that as these new legislative regulations come in picture, how do I make sure my AI systems are up to date? My AI systems are adhering to all the clauses. The challenge with that is the regulations are subjective in nature. These are statements. But then my model, my solution cannot be regulated until I have quantification of those regulations. I have to monitor that how much of or how what kind of regulations am I following, and what is the journey ahead. So the core of the challenge becomes, how do I quantify those subjective regulations into KPIs and monitor them at a consistent basis continuously and improve on it. And as new regulations come in, there are strategies, there are solutions that we've delivered for certain customers, where we give them a sense of what is today, summarize them, make sure it's applicable for business. And it's usually needed when you are looking to go a customer-facing solution, which is where GenAI is used in majority of use cases. In explainability part particularly, Raghav, since deep learning and now in large language models as well, these are very huge, complex ecosystems, huge, complex models. So explainability, the definition of explainability is different for large language models. It's no more about, hey, let me see what's happening inside the solution, inside the box, because it is a black box solution. It's about making sure that the end users understand where or how this result is coming. So it's more on the outcome or output of a model, plus the validation and explanation of such outputs, versus looking at the inner black box that the model itself is. And there are regulations that sort of help complicate the overall challenge of explainability and managing the regulations around the whole ecosystem. For example, GDPR is almost everywhere. So with regulations as such, it's essential that businesses look at benchmarking or understanding the regulations, adhere to it, and also are able to explain if at all they miss a certain regulation or a guideline, then what was the reasoning behind it, and therefore consistently improve on it. Particularly in RCPG space, the two major areas where businesses are investing today are, how do I now improve my existing processes and existing systems, and what are the new use cases I can solve for. So the existing systems could be my customer-facing chatbot. Historically, it would be a huge team of people talking to the customers directly. But now, with the help of GenAI, we can customize and we can make sure that the responses are not just valid, but also personalized to the user context. And that new use case, like I said, is product information management or product cataloging. There's the pricing is also empowered by GenAI to some context. There's supply chain. One of the key areas which a few retailers are investing into, and we have done that for the same, is today's consumer is asking for reduction in price because of multiple reasons. Today's CPG company, retail company, needs to make sure that they they reduce the price or make sure the price is amenable to the consumer. With that, the challenge comes, if at all the cost of my manufacturing goods are increasing, how do I now make sure that I still am able to deliver the same promised goods at the same price? So with that, there's a new field that's emerged, which is product innovation. Making sure you understand the emerging trends in the space, making sure you create a new product itself. And GenAI can help you both in branding perspective and in actually understanding the trend and building the product. And therefore, overall, there are net new streams of business or net new streams of innovation coming into through GenAI. Versus there's also an efficiency context to it. The smart thing to do here is to fail fast. If at all a POC is not giving a business the relevant results, quickly scrap it and move on. Think about a different way to solve the problem. So that's where it usually helps a business, because again, it's a costly enterprise. The final challenge that RCPG companies face in this space is integration adoption. So with GenAI comes the challenge of how do I now plug this solution that I've built into my legacy systems? Because legacy systems have a different workflow, different work streams. So integrating that into existing systems and not just integrating it, but making sure it's adopted as well is a challenge, because more often than not, it's difficult to make sure that, or difficult to change the way processes has been set up so far. And that's where platform comes in place. So it starts with use case, making sure that we are across, moves on to understanding the integration adoption, and then the platform. The platform is key here. And if at all regulations and governances surround the whole platform itself, that makes it that much more powerful. It could be use case per use case, but if at all governance and regulations are made sure that across a platform it's completely sealed off, I think that's what enables a business much more. What's your take on RCPG space particularly, Raghav?
So what you said is all right. I couldn't agree more. So what we have seen with our when we talk to a lot of customers is many companies struggle to move beyond these flashy demos to projects with a clear ROI. Right. A core challenge is identifying the truly impactful use cases. Here, prioritization becomes a key, with a focus on areas with the highest potential for cost reduction, revenue growth, and efficiency gains. Like we already talked about, personalized marketing or optimized supply chain forecasting. And then quantifying these improvements in areas like this can be very difficult. So this lack of clear metrics often hinders secure buy-in from leadership for large-scale implementation, right? And then you already talked about the integration complexity, where integrating with all the ERP, CRM, and supply chain management system, which are already there today, legacy or traditional, is difficult. Just to give an example, we're talking to a customer who wants to automate their live call center analysis. As and when the customers are calling to with their complaints, they want to implement this productivity tools in their live call center to help them help the agents improve the productivity, resolve the answers faster, and so on. Right. But one of the challenges was that how do we integrate with this the CRM and the ERP systems which exist today, and how do I integrate with the live telephony? So it requires a lot of expertise and skills to basically like integrate them and integrate like the new age systems with the legacy systems. So that's another challenge that we normally see, and gets more and more complex with the data being like in silos and sitting in different places. So that's where the data availability and the quality plays very important role, because AI and data go hand in hand. Your AI is as good as your data, right? GenAI specifically thrives on vast, clean, and well-defined data, whether it's structured or unstructured, but a well-defined data that is essential for like helping GenAI basically thrive, right? A resource like which is often fragmented or inconsistently formatted across legacy systems and in silos in these industries. This leads to inaccurate model training and unreliable predictions. And businesses start seeing this as kind of a hallucination, or the predictions are not reliable. So hence the data availability and quality also becomes very important. And then comes the scalability. You mentioned about the infra, right? The scalable infra. Scalable infra at a low cost, specifically when you're getting into hyper personalization at an individual level. So this becomes very critical. And ethical considerations, which you already talked about. And for all these to have their own place, you need an internal expertise. We see that many of the retail and CPG companies, they say that they don't have the right expertise to do this, which kind of hinders both the model selection and the successful implementation, right? Finding and retaining skilled data scientists, AI engineers, and so on is very crucial, and also market is actually pretty competitive. Hence, it's important to look beyond the flashy models to a robust data infrastructure and a cloud or infra platform that addresses all these issues and provides a seamless integration between various dots and connects all of them together.
No, absolutely. I see this, Raghav, as there is a short-term vision that GenAI has brought to everybody, and expectations with that. And then there's a long-term vision as well. So in the short term, I think the first thing that will change eventually is cost, either through scale or through change in the way GenAI is built today and used. The second short-term expectation is there will be a lot more governance and regulation around GenAI, which businesses will have to keep up with. And there are mechanisms in GenAI to help GenAI govern itself. So that's the second thing. And finally, the resourcing. So with GenAI comes a new set of skill sets which businesses will want to have. And GenAI itself is evolving. There will be changes in the way GenAI is built today. There will be changes in the way GenAI is productionized today. So the skill sets, the right skill sets would be needed. And therefore, these would be the three short-term changes that I'm looking for or expecting in GenAI. In the long term, the general statement I would put is that GenAI will become a commodity for both businesses and consumers or customers. Every household will use GenAI at some level. The only question is, how do you make sure you control that in a regulated manner, make sure that you're driving value with GenAI, the right kind of value. And in the long run, there will be convergence on everything. There will be convergence on governance. It'll become much more pointed, much more focused, much more clearer. There will be convergence on infrastructure. There will be convergence on cost. So all these things will come together in the long run. One of the things that I also hear from a few of our customers is, should I be deploying my GenAI solution in-house, or should I be deploying or building a customized GenAI solution on the cloud? So there's a debate on the kind of deployment itself, and the reason for that is, I think, data security. Some companies want to have a more larger control on their data, and this debate has led into there are multiple solutions now. So there are ways to deploy a solution or infrastructure in a private network or in-house even. Then I think the businesses will start to want GenAI solutions that are customized for their line of business. For example, a typical large language model would today answer any sort of question in a generic way. But now we see an evolution. There are already a few solutions where it's customized for a line of business. So for retail CPG, there should be, or there will be, an ask of a customized model. And that model could be built by businesses themselves, or there could be a large player that comes in and does this. But this is what I see happening in the future, in near and long-term future, for generative AI particularly. So, Raghav, what do you see the future looking like?
I mean, the future looks bright for sure, right? With so much happening in the technology space, probably this is one of the fastest evolving technology after internet and mobile. We consider this as the third the revolution which is happening in this space. And we are all excited to be part of this. The trend is not just about efficiency anymore, right? The future trends are not going to be around just the efficiency. It's about like, how do you bring hyper personalization at scale? So we talked about this few times already, right? It's about creating genuinely unique and engaging experience for each customer, fostering stronger brand loyalty and driving significant revenue growth. So a lot of focus is going to be around this. Think about it, like AI generating entirely new product designs based on trending styles and consumer preferences. So this is no longer an art of possibility. So today, a lot of fashion retailers, like in this region, they are getting into the fast fashion mode where they are able to predict what is happening in social media, what people are searching for, and what famous news magazines or the ramp shows are talking about. Identify trend from all of that and building the new styles, right? This is no longer art of possibility, and this is happening today. I mean, we're seeing this happening across multiple fashion retailers. They're able to reduce the lead time, which typically would take 4 to 5 weeks. If they're looking at some famous celebrities wearing certain outfits and they start trending in the social media, so it used to take 4 to 5 weeks. Now you can bring that like within few minutes, right? This is something which is happening today, and in future, it will so happen that the trends will be AI will start predicting the trends, that these trends are going to kick off in such a period of time span, and it will remain for so long, right? And this will enable the businesses like fashion retailers. If I want to take an example, it can happen in electronics, it can happen in automobiles, travel, everywhere. But taking an example of the fashion retailer, they can say that, okay, now this trend is going to kick off, and I want to ride the trend curve, then actually latch into the curve when the trend is already dying. And I started stocking the outfits now, which are not going to sell anymore. So I need to basically get rid of them in clearance and then make losses. You will see these happening in the future, where you would see someone wearing a very, very trendy thing, and it's kind of actually going viral. And within matter of a couple of days, a few days, you start seeing them on the shelf, and you'll be able to buy those favorite things that you aspired on your favorite celebrities, right? So those days are actually not very far. And when you look at this, throughout all the processes, whether it's marketing, whether it's search and discovery, or merchandising, or supply chain optimization, financial operations, right? And so on, like all areas of the retail value chain, we have seen that the productivity gains are substantial. In some cases, we have seen as high as 30% increase in the marketing outcome, right? And in some of the recent implementation of personalized search and recommendation, we saw as high as around 50% uplift in conversion, average order value, and across all the metrics that we were actually measuring for this jewelry retailer, right? Who is omnichannel in nature. It also drove the store metrics higher as well. So we are already seeing the results, right? And this trend is going to continue in the future as well. And of course, the increased productivity translates to cost savings and the revenue generation, right? And also, let's dispel the myth of job displacement. This is very important to understand that where generative AI or AI will play its role in the future, and where human in the loop still come into picture, right? So there was this myth that internet would displace the jobs, or mobile would actually displace the jobs, right? Similarly, today people are talking about AI displacing the jobs, but it's very important to understand that generative AI, like the other two, the tech transformation which happened in the past, is going to create new and high-skilled jobs. We will still need AI specialists, data scientists, prompt engineers, and professionals who can manage and interpret the insights generated by these systems, right? Furthermore, the overall growth is also fueled by AI, and it is going to make huge impact across the organization. Where we see some of the impact in the near term is like where there are mundane tasks or the repetitive tasks which people need to do on a regular basis, and those tasks may basically disappear, and now the organizations can basically deploy them for some higher productivity gains, right? So if you ask me, like AI is actually future. The future is great and bright, and at end of the day, it depends on how do you use these technologies to influence in a positive way for the society and for everyone. than actually like using it in a misuse way. That's where the technology companies, the partners, and everyone play their role in making sure that we are building AI for the great future in a positive way.
Certainly, Raghav. Just on a quick note on the displacement context, is that my experience has been that for any technology when it comes or a new technology comes in the space, um, the only challenge is how do I now adopt to the new technology, because that is where it impacts. GenAI is here to make sure that the time it takes for you to create a value for your business or for even, let's say, artists is reduced. So it's here to improve on efficiency, not to displace the whole context of the work itself. The second thing is there's human in the loop, and there's other aspects. There's new work streams or workflows that will come in picture. But generally, even if we don't look at the net new work streams, as a user, as a consumer of generative AI, it's here just to make sure you're much more efficient than how you were, like automating repeating tasks, making sure you get immediate information on certain contextual that you're looking for, create art, for example. Right? There's a bunch of things in branding, in marketing. It just helps you get there faster.
Well, this discussion is actually very much engaging, and we have learned a lot about the nuances of GenAI. I wish we had a little more time in hand, but we're nearing the end of this session. I'm so sorry about this, but Raghav, I just request you to conclude this entire discussion now.
Sure. See, one of the key takeaways I would say is that, as Aditya was mentioning earlier, the technology is going to be commoditized. So this technology will be available to everyone, just like when mobile came and internet came, initially it was expensive to afford. Now everyone has it. Like mobile and internet is in everyone's hand. Similarly, this technology will soon be available for everyone. Every models today, so they have their own unique things, and one model is doing better than the other one today, and tomorrow there is a new launch or new upgrade of another model that takes over, right? So this race is going to continue for some more time, and eventually they will all catch up. Like there'll be generic models, there'll be the task-specific models. You will get so many varieties, right? So it is going to be a commodity. So now, what actually then differentiates you from another, like your competition? So that is your data, your first-party data that you have, as well as your processes which you are going to distinguish actually from your competition. That is data and process will make your business the moat, right? So that's your moat. It's very important because the price to performance ratio, everything is going to like improve over the time, and what will differentiate purely is your data and your process. So that is very important. Then how do you make sure that you are able to use all this in your processes, right? So as we talked about earlier, so quickly I'll summarize actually a couple of areas. One is the governance, and on the governance side, establish clear AI governance and framework, and implement robust data anonymization and privacy enhancing techniques throughout the AI lifecycle, which involves defining data usage policies, model validation protocols, and so on. Then next, invest in the AI explainability, which is to understand model decision making and build customer trust, so that like it's not causing any harm to your business or the customer. Once these are in place, continuously monitor them and audit the systems for bias, fairness, and other responsible AI principles, and make sure that they are all in place. And on the investment side, few things to keep in mind is basically identify clear business problems that GenAI can uniquely solve for your business, and focus on those tangible needs. Don't look at like what is happening with all these flashy models and a lot of the things, the hype which is going on, but identify what is tangible for your needs. And then assess your data maturity. Do you have the right data? Is it in the right format? Or do you have sufficient volume for effective model training if you need a model training, right? And do you have the right platform for that? And then evaluate available solutions, explore both in-house and the third-party platforms, look at your own internal teams, or partner with the right partners, right? And then establish clear KPIs and finally do the projects, like start small, try small, right, with smaller projects. So to summarize in one sentence, like try fast, fail fast, and learn fast.
Thank you so much, Raghav. On
Just to
that
add
note,
on top of it,
yeah.
so governance today cannot be an afterthought. Usually governance was thought as, hey, I have a solution today, now I need to govern it or package it in a manner where I'm putting right guardrails around it. Governance now has to be the first thing you look at before you begin even looking at your data and the context and the use case you're trying to solve for. I think that's what I would like to end with. Over to you, Richa.
Thank you so much, Aditya. Thanks so much, Raghav. So on that note, it is certain from the discussion that GenAI is reshaping industries. Today, we covered some of the important use cases of GenAI and what lies in the future. While challenges exist, the future is bright. Responsible AI development will harness its power for positive change. And like we all learned, let's not forget that we should try fast, fail fast, and learn faster. What would be a good starting point to implementing GenAI use cases?
I can take that probably. So as you were summarizing, right? So look at like evaluate your business needs and well define your goals and what you want to achieve, right? And try in a smaller pilots, right? For this, I mean, to get into any of your use cases, to before you begin, whether it's a smaller company or a larger company, like your data maturity is actually very important. So you need to assess your data, remove the silos, duplicate data, and bring them all together. Because as we were mentioning earlier, that is a context in which your AI should be working on. It should not be hallucinating, or it should not be looking at something from the internet knowledge that it has gained, right? So it's very important that while all that knowledge is important, you also provide the right data, which is in a clean and well-defined way, so that you get the predictable outcomes. So these are very important. The governance we talked about, the prioritization we talked about, all those things are required. But start with basically your infrastructure, data, and put the AI governance around these things, and then get into evaluating what business problems you want to solve, and so on. And for this, I mean, you need like if you don't have the expertise, like of course, I mean, you need right skills. Either you need to hire, or like you need to basically tie up with partners who have experience actually in building in this.
Okay. Well, the second question, maybe Aditya, you can take it up. Typical time frame you see to conduct a POC, MVP, and to productionize the GenAI use case?
So just adding on to the first question and leading into this one is, as you're looking to build POC, it's good to assess your starting point. And starting point is not just the right use case or the right infrastructure, the right governance frameworks. Starting point is you realizing that there's a space in your business where GenAI can either help you improve existing processes and or create new processes which will enable your business. The context of time frame is variable, but like Raghav mentioned, start small, fail fast, try fast. So that's where typically a use case could be tested out in, let's say, 10 weeks time frame, 10 to 12 weeks time frame, and that's me being generous. Depending on the context of the problem, it could be smaller or maybe a little larger, but not too much deviation on that front. But then it's important for you to realize that it's not about the time frame or time it takes to go through a POC or go through investment. It's about the right POC, the right kind of problem that you're looking to solve for, and having the right ecosystem to support it. There's a lot of the times it's not about just building the generative model or customizing it for a use case. It's about how will I now use this solution, even in a POC stage. Do I test out how does it work with my legacy systems? How does it infrastructure collaborate to it? What are the cost implications? What are the governance implications? So these are the areas where I think you should look at. But then yeah, the time frame is fail fast. So as quickly as possible, try out and test it out.
Okay. Thank you so much, Aditya. Well, we have a couple of more questions, but we will not be able to take those questions, but we will reach out to you in that case. So we've already neared the end of this entire session. And I sincerely thank our esteemed speakers, Raghav and Aditya, for the insightful discussion on transformative GenAI, accelerating retail and CPG with real-world impact. Your expertise and knowledge have truly enriched our understanding of GenAI applications. And well, we also would want to thank our lovely audience for their active participation and thoughtful questions. We hope you find this webinar informative and valuable. Please feel free to contact us with any further questions or feedback.